I've had a career for 30-something years, so who's to tell if they were wrong? Who's to tell they were right?
Your home for melodic heavy metal. This is the Signals of Intuition.
So why can't you believe love is gonna win?
There's brand new Land of Gypsies right there with Believe, the opening track from their self-titled album out now on Frontiers Records. You're listening to the Signals of Intuition, your home for melodic hard rock and heavy metal. And tonight on the show, we've got the singer of that band, Mr. Terry Ilous, who you may know as the singer of XYZ and the former lead singer of Great White from about 2010 to about 2018 or so. That is his new band he's got out with more of a 70s hard rock kind of vibe, featuring on that Mr. Serge Simic on guitar, Fabrizio Grossi from Glenn Hughes' band on bass, AJ Mora, who's been a major Nashville drummer through the years, Eric Ragno from China Blue and many other bands, and Jeff Northrup also playing guitar on the album as well, who used to play in King Cobra. Tonight on the show, we've got Terry, who's going to be hanging out with us, so let's get Terry on the line right now.
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, Terry, doing well. How you doing?
Can you hear me okay? Let me see if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds really good on my end. Where are you now? Are you still in LA?
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm driving back from the airport, and yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. Where are you?
I'm in Windsor, Ontario, right next to Detroit. I'm on the Canadian side of Detroit, pretty much.
All right. But are you Canadian or American?
I'm Canadian.
Great. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yep. Where are you based in LA? Usually I'm down every year for NAMM, but obviously this year there's been COVID, so it didn't happen.
I'm in Toluca Lake, which is by Universal City, Studio City. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's close to Universal City. I don't know if you've ever been to Universal, but it's there. It's in a little pocket called Toluca Lake. It's only 2 miles. It's a square of 2 miles, and it's mostly residential, old money, old houses. I mean old, but I mean by old, I don't mean crappy houses. I mean a lot of studio executives live there. People from NBC and all those Warner Brothers, all the stuff. So it's a nice, quiet neighborhood.
Yeah, I've driven through Studio City. I think I may have eaten there one night. So I've been around there, but I've sort of traveled sort of all over the city and the suburbs and all that kind of stuff through the years. So
right.
I'm sure I've driven close to Toluca Lake at very least.
Very good.
So when I do these, I always like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new record. So starting from the beginning, where did you grow up and how did you get started in music?
Well, I come from my background is quite interesting. My dad was Spanish, from Spain. My family's from Barcelona, Spain. My mom is Jewish Sephardic. We grew up in the worst part of France, very poor neighborhood in Paris. And we grew up there. I mean, I grew up there, and then my parents were able to move to a different city called Lyon, and it was a little bit better than where I grew up. And after that, that's basically it. Paris first and Lyon. And then I stayed in Lyon till I came to the United States. So
how do you go from living in Lyon? From what I know, because Pat is also from France, correct?
Yeah,
and you guys formed the band together?
Pat was a friend of mine, yes. I've known Pat for since I was a kid.
So now, do you have musical training? Like, did you start just kind of listening to, rock music, that kind of thing, and then decide you wanted to sing? Or is this something, does it run in the family, that kind of thing,
Good question. My dad was a guitar player. My dad was a bit older than, he got me when he was older. So my dad was a disciple of music, like Django Reinhardt, people like that, what they call gypsy blues, and gypsy jazz. So he imbued me in a way with the love of music. He used to play all kinds of albums at home. I mean, LP 78 at the time. A lot of stuff from jazz to bossa nova, Brazilian music, to rock, because my dad loved rock music too. So he really played all kinds of stuff and said, "Oh, check this out." The bottom line is, I grew up listening to all kinds of music. On the side of my dad's family, I have a lot of musicians, like professional piano player, professional singers, people making songwriters. So when we were together, we used to gather, and I used to listen to my cousins and play. And I was much younger than them, by the way, and I was always a bit intimidated for sure. But I was lucky to grow up in a family that had a lot of artists in the family, either filmmakers or singers or piano player, teachers, So that's really what happened. It's in the gene. My dad was a guitar player.
So you go from that. Did your dad teach you how to play guitar or teach you any other instruments, or were you just kind of around it and then decided to sing?
The only thing my dad taught me is how to be a good person. My dad was a really good person, and he told me that it's very important to be generous in life. He told me it's very important to be grateful for what you have. That's what my dad taught me. That's the biggest lessons he gave me. He didn't teach me any instrument, but he used to play guitar in front of me, and I used to watch him play. I was a bit of a rebellious kid, so I didn't want anyone to teach me anything. I wanted to learn on my own, so I've never really taken lessons. I've never taken guitar lessons, or I've never taken vocal lessons. I think I took one vocal lesson in my life in France, and 2 or 3 in Los Angeles via the internet, just to learn how to warm up, and that's about it. I was a rebellious person that didn't want anyone to teach me anything, which is kind of stupid because I think it's important to learn from our peers. It's a miracle that went as far as I did.
And so how do you go from France to LA? What's the lineage there? Was it you and Pat just got together and said, let's go to LA and try and make it? Or did he already move over? How did that, how did you go from France to XYZ and moving to LA?
Well, Pat's vision was to do an album in France and come to the United States with it. And so we were just friends, and he said, would you like to sing? I'll pay you. So he paid me to do a 4-song demo. And we did it. He left France to come to the United States. He tried to get a record deal and was not successful at it, but he lied to me. He said, hey, we have a record deal here. We got women waiting for us, money. Everybody's waiting for you. We're just waiting for you. Come to the United States. So I said, well, I don't speak English very well. He said, don't worry about it. You'll be just fine. So I came to the United States. I arrived at the airport with $500 in my pocket and one guitar and one bag and a duffel bag. And I said, okay, where are the women? He said, there's none. He said, where's the record deal? There's none. I said, wait a minute, you're picking me up in a 1974 or 72 Chevy Nova with the windows don't even roll up, all beat up and everything, and there's no record deal. There is nothing. He said, no, but if I would have told you that, you would have never came here. So he was right. And then from that on, we decided to work together, and there was a time where we were not together because we were upset at each other, but most of the time we worked together, and we hired different musicians to put the band together, and eventually we got a record deal.
So in France, just to back up for a second, there's like an EP demo, whatever, Straight in the Night. I think it's Only Get You on the Phone. So that was recorded in France then, eh? Yeah. And then you guys went to LA after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was recorded in France. Pat left, came to the United States, and Pat was a very smart man. He's a smart man. He had a vision. And I didn't have a vision, but if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd be here today.
Right. So take me through this. Okay, so you moved to LA, you've got the band, and I know over time you guys eventually became the house band at the Whiskey. Take me through those early years into forming the band and then getting your record deal with Enigma and being produced by Don Dokken.
Well, I don't know if you were in Los Angeles back in the days, but there was a lot of, the Sunset Strip was absolutely outstanding, amazing. Bands passing out flyers in the streets, groupies talking to you, bringing you food at home, supporting the band financially, emotionally, and physically. And so they were great. I don't like the term groupies, to be honest with you. I think it's very derogatory. I just call them fans and good fans. I don't like groupies.
Fans with benefits.
Yeah, I don't like the term groupies. I think it's very derogatory, and those ladies were very helpful in many, many ways, not just sex, but seriously, they were there for us, money-wise, paying our rent. I mean, we had so many women paying the rent or stuff. It's amazing. I mean, seriously, So I can only say that we were passing out flyers, giving flyers to everyone, and doing all that stuff. And these were great times, but hard times because at night we used to pass out flyers and rehearse, do shows, and in the morning at 6 a.m. we were doing construction. So we had to get up at 5 in the morning, have breakfast, and go to construction till 2 in the afternoon. At 2 in the afternoon, you go and practice a little bit, rehearse, and then at night you do what you got to do, you know. So these were rough times, but I think in order to succeed, you have to go through rough times. I think because it makes you who you are. That's why I'm not a big fan of, disrespect of American Idols and that stuff, because I think it's all bullshit. Most of these people have never, I wouldn't say suffered. I don't think you have to suffer to be successful, but I don't think they've never really felt the defeat. In order to get strong in life, you need to be defeated a few times in order to rebuild yourself. In order to build an armor around you, you need to fall a few times to know what works and what doesn't work. So that's my opinion when it comes to that. So you have to learn from your failure. You write a song and people don't like it. Well, there's a reason for that. Maybe your song is not good enough, or maybe you didn't promote it good enough. So what you do, you learn from that failure and you become stronger and you write a better song. That's what it's all about.
So tell me this. So how was it doing your first, you guys obviously had some recording experience with the demo, but tell me about what it was like working with Don Dokken and the legendary Wyn Davis engineering it. What did those two bring to the table for that first album, and how was it working with them?
Well, Don is an interesting character. Don is a very gifted songwriter, singer. He was on top of his game back then in the 90s, so he was a rock star, big rock star. He changed the sound quite a lot, to be really honest with you. The band was much more raw before meeting Don Dokken. In fact, the band was very much like Land of Gypsies, I have to be honest with you. The band was very much into Bad Company, early Foreigner, early Whitesnake. That's really what we were aiming for. And then Don gave it his own twist. As a producer, he said, well, I think you should sound this way because nowadays this is what people want and blah, blah, blah. So was he right or was he wrong? I don't know. All I know is I enjoyed working with him and we were successful, but he really wanted to, he's very particular with the thing. We were 21 years old, 22 years old, and we had that punk attitude, although we were playing, we were a hair band, what they call that, hair band, which I don't like that expression, but we were an 80s rock band. We were pretty raw, we were not as raw as Guns N' Roses, but we were pretty raw. So those two changed the sound a bit, making it more polished. Now, is it good or bad? I don't know, and I will not criticize Don, or I would not criticize Wyn Davis. They did what they thought was right, and ultimately, it's all positive because I'm here today and doing an interview with you, and I've had a career for 30-something years, so who's to tell if they were wrong? Who's to tell they were right? I don't know. But I'm grateful for their support and grateful for what I've learned from them.
For sure. And speaking of legendary producers, on the next album, you guys had, the producer of Queensryche, Shy, Hall & Oates, Neil Kernon. How was it working with him, and how did he differ from Don and Wyn's work ethic?
Neil Kernon is a really very talented producer. At the time, we did not get along. I have to be honest with you. Looking back, maybe sometimes personalities clashes. That's the way it is. You know what I mean? So I think maybe our personalities were very different. Maybe it was us. Maybe we were wrong, XYZ. Maybe that was him. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything because I don't remember very well. It's 30 years ago. All I know is we did not get along very well. Now, that does not make him an asshole whatsoever. It's just a matter of personalities. That's all. Personally, Neil Kernon, I believe Neil Kernon is a very good producer. He's a very talented man. As far as the artist himself, I only have great things to say about him. I don't know why we didn't get along. Maybe something was not clicking, but it could be the band, could be us. I don't know. I don't recall. I know I contacted him not so long ago and I sent him a nice message. He replied, and 30 years later, people change and, you gotta be respectful. That's all I have to say. So Neil is a very talented man, very talented, and who am I to criticize him? I mean, look at his track record. The guy is great.
Of course. So jumping ahead a couple years, an album you did that I really, really enjoyed is the Cage album. I think it's called FICO, if I'm not mistaken.
It's called Cage. It was called. I forgot the name. Yes, I know which one. It was a good album.
Yeah, it's funny because I mentioned it to Phil Susan at NAMM a couple years ago when I bumped into him, and I said, "Phil, I love that Cage album." He goes, "Really?" He goes, "Wow, that was a fun album to do." So, tell me about you and Jeff putting that album together.
JK and I, we've been friends for a long time. JK and I, we met in '92. He was supposed to be the replacement for Mark when my guitar player left the band. However, when he sent his demo to my record company and management, believe it or not, they blocked him. They actually blocked him. So we never received his demo. And years later, he told me, he said, "We don't remember, but I tried to audition for XYZ. I never received a phone call." I'm like, "What? I never heard from that." So I was quite upset about that because JK is a fantastic songwriter and a really good person to work with. He inspires me a lot. So I was disappointed, but you know what? I said to him, "Let's work together now. Maybe it's even better." So we worked together, and we decided to put an album together called Cage, and on FICO Records, that was my record company.
Okay, so it's the record label. Okay, because I've seen it called FICO, but I don't see it anywhere like it on the back where it has a label, it says FICO, but everyone just calls it FICO, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess it's just called Cage then,
FICO Record is my label. I formed the label in 1994. And
okay. That makes sense.
JK and I, we worked on some of the songs, and I had a bunch of songs written. He had a bunch of songs written as well. And we combined our forces, like two little armies, and we hired a bunch of great musicians. Like we hired James Kotak, which I admire so much. It's one of my favorite drummers, James. We hired Carmen Appice. We hired Tony Franklin. It's a really, really good album, and we got along very well. And we released that album. Unfortunately, of course, timing was wrong because at the time that kind of music was dead. But there's some really good songs on it. It's very different. So the combination between Jeff and I working together, JK and I working together, was interesting.
Yeah, it worked out great. I mean, I'm blanking on the song title, but the opening track I still play quite a bit on this show. Like I love that tune, and there's many other great ones on there too.
Oh, that's Walk on Water.
Yes, yeah, that's it, yeah. Yep. Great, just heavy hard rocking tune. But yeah, there's other great songs, a couple really good ballads on there.
Yeah, JK wrote that song pretty much. I had nothing to do with it. He wrote the music and lyrics. I just sang the melody. I changed the melody a little bit, but really it was his baby. And JK was destined to be a superstar guitar player. Just things happen, and life sometimes goes a different way, but as far as I'm concerned, he's a superstar guitar player in my world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big fan of his solo album. I think it's from about 2001.
Yeah.
Great record. His work with King Cobra, fantastic. He's done a lot, like you say, fantastic guitar player who is sort of known in hard rock circles, but for whatever reason, just never ballooned out beyond that, which is a shame because, like you say, he's a very, very talented player.
Oh yeah, we just to let you know, we have Brandon. We have some work. We just wrote a bunch of songs together, and in 2022 we're going to be releasing those songs. So we're going to be pretty much do one single at a time, or maybe two singles at a time. But we have about 8 or 9 songs ready to go, already mixed and mastered. It's going to happen sometimes in 2022.
That's awesome. Do you have a name for it? For the project?
Jeff and Terry Excellent Adventure. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's gonna become Terry Ilous and Jeff Northrup. That's it. But we used the name before, Jeff and Terry Excellent Adventure. We might use that name again because I think it's pretty funny.
Oh, it's great. Well, especially Bill and Ted just came out not long ago, right? So it totally.
Yeah. No, we were thinking about calling Jeff and Terry's Excellent Adventure. I think we should call the band that way, but I don't know if people are going to get the joke, but Jeff has a great sense of humor. Well, I call him JK, I'm sorry. JK has a great sense of humor. He's really funny. He has a very high IQ. He's got I think it's 160 or something. He's a really, really intelligent person. So we get along very, very well because he's funny. He's funny, very funny guy.
So I know we're almost out of time, so I want to hit, you've got this excellent new record out on Frontiers called Land of Gypsies. Tell me about assembling this album. I mean, you've got, one of the drummer, Tony Mora behind the kit, Fabrizio Grossi from Glenn Hughes' band as your, producer. You've got the world-class Eric Ragno. Like, I'm looking at this release, and then Serge, who I had never heard of before, just doing an amazing job on guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's channeling all of my favorite 70s guitar players. I mean, it's like you've got a little bit of Ace Frehley in his playing, a little bit of Jimmy Page, a little bit sound like Judas Priest, like it's just, tell me about how this record came together and how it was written.
Well, Frontiers, when they contacted me and asked me if I wanted to do an album, I said yes. But I told them flat out, I said, I'm not looking for the big backup vocals, the big 80s stuff. If you're looking for that, then I'm the wrong guy because I've moved on. And they said, no, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I want to do something kind of 70s, a little bit going back to my roots, my first XYZ album, but without the big productions, I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, okay, we got the perfect guy for you. We got Fabrizio Grossi. And I met with Fabrizio, and we got along great right away. I mean, from the moment we sat down, first thing we talked is food. Then we talked about soccer. And I told him the French team was better than the Italian team. He said, no way.
And then the relationship was over there.
No, actually, it was funny because all we talked is food and soccer. And so we immediately got along right away. And he said, you have any songs? I was like, yeah, I do. So I played him a lot of songs. And he said, oh, this one works, this one doesn't work. And same for Serge. Serge had a lot of songs as well. And we said that. I said, no, this one, no way. This one, no way. But this one, yes, no, yes, yes, yes. So we pretty much got along from the get-go. And he said, I'm going to put a band together around you. So he hired Serge. Serge is a fucking great guitar player. I mean, the guy is really easy to work with and really good guitarist. And then he hired Eric on keys. Eric is even better. I mean, Eric is a very underrated keyboard player. He's really good, and he's got great ideas, great melodies. So I love working with him. And then AJ on drums, a new guy, AJ Morena on drums. I never worked with him before, but he was fast and efficient. He's from Nashville. And of course, Fabrizio did the production and the bass playing. And I brought him the song. I said, here's the song. How do you think about it? And he said, I like it. Let's do this. Let's send it to Serge. And Serge says, oh, yeah, let me fix the guitar. So, because I'm not the greatest guitarist, that's for sure, but I can play a little bit and I can write with my guitar. So when I write a riff guitar, it may not be exactly perfect, but I tell him, I say, well, this is what I hear, I mean, can you modify it? And Serge was like, oh, yeah. Serge could hear my vision right away. So that was easy to work with those guys. Very easy.
Yeah, it's like I've got to say, like you said, it's definitely going from that 70s vibe. And to me, and I don't know how the record was done, but the vibe I get from it sounds like this was a band together in the studio writing and recording. It sounds like a band album as opposed to an internet, you do your part, and we'll mix it at the end,
There was I think a lot has to do with the connection between the five of us, the four, five of us. The connection was, the glue to that album was definitely Fabrizio. He was the glue. He's the one that when I would go there in the morning, I said, hey, he said, what do you have? I said, well, I have this song. He said, let me hear it. And he said, all right. So he would immediately record it and say, let me think about it. And then he would say, all right, let's change this part. Can you come up with a different part? I'm like, yeah. So I would come up with a different part on the spot. And he said, okay, that's better. And then we would send the track to the guys, AJ, and AJ would say, oh, yeah, I hear this, I hear that. And basically the songs were within 2 days. I mean, I remember writing the melodies and the title of the songs most of the time or not. And JK would say, yeah, I'll get the lyrics for you tomorrow. And the lyrics were done the next day. I'm like, I couldn't believe how fast. The process was very painless, dude. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, wow, it was amazing.
Yeah, it really does. Like, the whole album flows great. Like you say, very, very 70s, a great band album. And, I think you guys have done something really special with it. you know, to have that kind of vibe and feeling, because there is that worry of, especially, you know, with it being a COVID album, oh, well, everyone just did their own thing and that was it. And it's like, you don't get that vibe at all listening to it. You know, this sounds like something that you guys could easily step on stage and play this tomorrow. You know, like it's a live kind of album.
We've been asked to do shows together, so I think it may happen. We may do shows together. But we talked a lot about soccer. We talked a lot during the recording, Fabrizio and I. We talked a lot about soccer. We talked a lot about food, and in fact, we wanted to call the album Prosciutto and Camembert. But I don't think a record company would have loved that. They said, "What? Prosciutto and Camembert? Where? Prosciutto and cheese?" And they said, no, you can't call the album like that. I'm like, okay. So.
That's funny. All right, Terry, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview. And, you know, congrats on the new record. It sounds absolutely killer. Hopefully you guys can take it on the road. I'd love to see you if you come somewhere near Detroit. And I'm hoping to finally get to see XYZ. I've tried several times. Last time I had tickets to Hair on the Fair in Niagara Falls a few years ago, and about 2 weeks before, that fell apart. So...
well, what happened is Brett Michael had an issue, so we had to cancel the show. I don't know what happened. Something to do with the headliner. It was something to do with the headliner. I don't know what happened. You know.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. It's very much
You're
appreciated. Hope to catch you on the road soon, and best luck with the new record. And hopefully, I'll catch up with you for the new, you know, album that you and Jeff are putting together. The you know, your Excellent Adventure album. So.
It definitely is going to come out in some time. We don't know when. It's very XYZ, old XYZ, like Face Down in the Gutter, that kind of vibe. It's got that vibe. So it's pretty raw, but very raunchy and powerful. It's not polished. It's a little bit more rock than the Land of Gypsies, but I love working with Jeff. So I'm really looking forward to that release. And maybe Frontier is going to pick it up. I don't know. We don't know. We haven't talked to any labels yet, but I can tell you honestly that it's, as far as I'm concerned, some of my best work. Maybe my best work so far, because of the quality of people I'm working with. I had to, you know, you get inspired by whomever you work with, and I'm very inspired working with a JK Northrup. You know, it's like sex. Whenever you're having sex with an amazing, beautiful woman, you're gonna try to last more than 35 seconds. So, you know. So you're going to say, I'm going to go from 25 to 35. So it's pretty much it.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, old school XYZ, I'm definitely there. You know, so that's fantastic. Looking forward to it.
Take care.
All right, Terry, thanks again. Take it easy. Stay safe out there. And hopefully I'll catch you in 2022.
You got it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yep. Bye-bye. All right, well, thank you so much, Terry. Let's play another track from the brand new Land of Gypsies album right here. This is one of my favorite tracks. This is called Rescue Me.